Hey everyone, I thought I would just show you how I make my white fluffy bread, and I've already combined my warm water and yeast. I'll make sure to send you the recipe, of course, and my oil and honey and salt. I let the yeast bloom in the water for 5 to 10 minutes or so, and then I went ahead and added my flour. I'll show you what it looks like right now. It's in the mixer and the dough hook is doing all the work for me. This has been mixing for a minute or two. I'm gonna let it mix for probably between 5 and 10 minutes so that all that gluten kind of gets worked out. I like the way that this is not sticking to the walls at all. I'm probably gonna have to end up adding a little bit more flour, but I'll just wait a couple minutes and see. This has been my go-to bread recipe for probably a couple of years now. The variation that you can do is adding wheat flour. White flour only will help it be nice and fluffy, and wheat flour gives it a little more gumption, I would say. Like if you're gonna use this for like thick sandwiches, you're gonna wanna put a little bit of wheat flour in there. This recipe calls for 8 to 9 cups of flour. If you're not using all white, I do recommend not using all wheat. At most, half it, and then I will usually use more white flour than wheat flour. So if I'm making a wheat bread, I will use about 5 cups of white flour and 3 cups of wheat flour. I'm going to show you what my bread looks like. Right, so I'm going to have to add some more flour to this. I can tell because there's a lot of dough sticking to the sides. I'm going to go ahead and add at least a half a cup. All right, I like to turn off the mixer while I'm adding the flour so I don't get a flour poof everywhere. And there really isn't a lot of science to measuring out how much you add. It really is just kind of something where, like, if you add too much flour, you can add a little more water as well. So you don't have to be too careful or too much of a stickler about that. I'm gonna give this a couple more minutes. All right, now I can see that this dough is ready to be let, I can just let this dough rise now. As it's mixing, it took off all of the little sticky parts off the sides of the bowl, and it's all sticking into one nice ball of dough. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the dough off the hook and then let the dough rise right in my mixing bowl. Right, I just wanted to show you, I'm not gonna worry about making this a nice pretty ball before it rises. I'll be handling it a little bit more before I divide it for the pans that I'm baking it in. So I'm just gonna leave it like this. I'm gonna cover it with a towel and leave it for at least an hour. So you can see also I just kind of peeled it all off this hook here, left it in here, didn't take it back out to make it a pretty ball or anything like that. And I did not line this bowl with oil either. Some recipes call for that, but I found that it doesn't really make a difference, so I don't do that. Okay, well now I have divided out my loaf essentially into 3 smaller dough balls. I like to do 3 loaves because I just think they fit a little better in our drawer where we keep our bread. Now they are in just regular sized bread pans. You can see I've lined them with real butter, and I'm gonna let them rise again for about another hour. And there we go. I'm gonna let them rise underneath this towel, and I've got the oven on to about 200 so that right underneath where they are is gonna be nice and warm, but these will just keep on rising nicely. All right, well there you have it. I usually bake the bread after it rises in its pans for 15 minutes, and then I switch around the loaves in the oven. I switch it like front to back. Thanks, Erin and Lucy. And switch the orders around so that they don't get burned on the bottom. Then I take them out of cook them for 15 minutes, switch them around, then 10 minutes. Then I take them, when they're done, I take them out of the pans and put them onto a cutting board so that they stop baking right away. And you've got this beautiful, honey-looking, delicious bread. And this has only been out of the oven for like 10 minutes, and my family's already had almost an entire loaf. So hope you guys enjoy this.